welcome, Gavin.
Hello.
Thanks very much for getting here. Sorry you've had train woes.
Oh, yeah, it's to be expected, I suppose, isn't it?
It was typical all best plans go awry at times. It's great to have you in the studio, and we're going to hear some Worried About Satan music in a minute. But I mean, the reason we've particularly asked you to come in at the moment is because I spotted you were playing this event, this Endless Hum event in Shipley in a few weeks. So we'll talk about that shortly. But maybe you could just fill us in a bit about Worried About Satan for those who don't know the band intimately, because we played a track from one of your older albums a couple of weeks back from the CD Arrivals. So you've actually been around for a long time, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, since about, I think I started the band in about 2006.
Yeah, and
it's been kind of in various like iterations and sounds since then, and it's been up and down and kind of all around since about then. But yeah, it's a long time.
Are you one of these bands where you're the sort of the main person, then the sort of personnel changes?
Back in the day, it kind of started as my little kind of like side project. So it was kind of just me making kind of little doodles and little sketches on my computer. And then for a long time, it was two of us, and we kind of made like gigged loads, toured, like put loads of stuff out. And then in about 2019, so a couple of years ago, it became just me again. So it's kind of back down to being a solo project again.
Right.
Which took a bit of getting used to kind of, get back into the groove of just being, everything rests on my head again. But it's been fine since then, and been like just kind of just ploughing on, just kind of plodding on as usual. Yeah. But yeah,
I guess in some ways over the last couple of years with the pandemic making, there's giving so many restrictions on what you could do. It's possibly solo is a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, in fairness, it was really strange because I had a kind of tour planned for 2019. Well, early 2020, late 2019, and obviously all of that got kind of binned off and thrown out the window. So I had to kind of think of ways to keep myself occupied or keep going. So I just sat down and just wrote like a whole load of music and piece it together over the next few years and stuff. So
cool.
It was a strange time, but like oddly quite fruitful in that it gave me loads of time to just sit and make loads of music. So it was kind of strange.
Yeah, it's interesting. Quite a lot of people said there have been sort of beneficial spin-offs, and side effects and things where people have maybe had a bit more time than usual. Stepped off the helter-skelter for a little bit. And also, I mean, I've said to one or two bands, it's sort of, if you'd had this kind of pandemic, even 10 years ago, certainly 15 or more, but just technology was not really up to scratch to kind of like keep us all connected in the way we have been able to. I know bands who've been able to carry on recording remotely, exchanging electronic files and stuff. So when you started, Worried About Satan was really a kind of recorded music project only, was it?
Yeah, I kind of didn't have much in the way of like plans for it or anything. It was basically just something to do because I was in like bands like kind of before Satan, and like I kind of pottered around doing various bits and bobs, but very low tech, just like kind of cassette 4-track kind of things, or feeling my way around some software that like my brother lent me, things like that. It wasn't like kind of, I'm gonna be an electronic music guy and I'm gonna do all this kind of stuff. It was just mainly kind of, I was at music college as well at the time, so I kind of thought like I'll just sit down and what I learned from kind of college, it can spur me on to do something at home. And I had like some spare time, and I just kind of sat around and just put some stuff together with no other kind of thought in my head of taking it any further than just like something to do. But things kind of happened, and it just fell into place. It could just kind of, everything kind of coalesced, and it was like, okay, I'm worried about Satan now then, I guess. I'll just carry this on then and see where it goes.
Well, let's hear something from this CD you brought in, which is called Crystalline. So that's from a couple of years ago, you were saying?
Yeah. Weirdly, it was just the one CD that I had on my desk this morning. So I thought, like, in fairness, it's got most of the radio-friendly songs on it. So it was kind of nice. But yeah, this one's called Mirrors, I think.
Mirrors, right? We'll listen to that. This is Mirrors, Worried About Satan. You're listening to BCB on 106.6 FM. This is Simon Ashberry with your weekly dose of local bands and more. Besides that was Worried About Satan with a track called Mirrors from their album Crystalline. I've got Gavin with me from the band. Is the recording process that you've sort of taken part in over the years, has that stayed the same, or have you got a lot more sophisticated since the early days?
Aside from like the very early days, which was like 2006, which was on a really old beaten up PC with some like software that my brother lent me. Aside from that, it's pretty much stayed the same since about like 2008, I think. Yeah. Where I got like just a second-hand like laptop, and I've basically kept it like the whole time. So yeah, which is very, very low tech. When you see all these guys with like huge setups and modular synths and everything, and then I just rock up with this tiny little laptop that's chipped away and like stickers all over it. That gets it's a bit weird, but
I think they're
I'm
probably envious,
yeah.
I mean, it does seem remarkable when I think back to kind of the way back when I was in bands trying to do recordings, and literally all you had was the pre-digital age. This was like Tascam Porter Studios, and all on cassette was the best you could do. So I mean, it just shows that technology managed to reach a good enough level for you to make fantastic.
It's strange because obviously the kind of like I've bought like extra guitars and pedals and stuff like that over the years, but like I've just felt really comfortable just kind of using like a pretty beat up old laptop and just one sound card, and that's kind of it. Like there's nothing. Everything else is kind of like like maybe some electronic stuff or some MIDI stuff that I find just on my travels, I suppose. Like just they fall into your kind of orbit. And then apart from that, it's just literally just kind of stayed the same. And I've just tried to kind of let my kind of tastes differ over the years. So like sometimes it'll be a bit more of an aggressive record. Sometimes it'll be a bit like kind of softer, like Crystalline was. Just quite a gentle album, because it was more like kind of, it wasn't really supposed to be a Satan album at first, and then it just kind of felt right to call it a Satan one. But it's pretty strange, but I like to keep things like fairly simple, just for my own sanity, so I'm not sat there like hours on end just trying to figure out how all these things
there's
work.
a lot to be said for kind of familiarity, I think. I mean, if you're battling technology because it's something new you're not used to, then you're almost using up some bandwidth that you could be to creativity. I mean, we were just saying off while that record was playing that we've obviously done a lot of recording shows from home for BCB, and I've ended up using a very, very old bit of audio software that people here raise their eyebrows at because they think, does that even still exist?
Yeah, well, if it works, it works.
Exactly. If it goes wrong, I'll certainly never be able to get it upgraded, because it probably doesn't exist anymore. But so you were talking about 2006, probably when you first started out as Worried About Satan, and sort of recording stuff. How long did it take to reach a level of actually performing live then? Was that a gradual thing?
It took a little while. It was only because like the band I used to be in, which you obviously know pretty well, because we were interviewed by you about 20 years ago, I think, on here. It was only after that kind of broke up that that gave me kind of my first taste of like playing live and stuff, and making this kind of electronic stuff. I didn't want it to just be sat around just in boxes and in studios and stuff. We did want to like kind of take it live and do something, even if it was. I mean, the first live shows were kind of a big desktop PC and a really old kind of CRT monitor, and like me kind of playing guitar next to it, and they were really like, everybody was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this looks ridiculous. And fair play, it does look ridiculous. Like when you see the pictures back, you're like, oh my god, what the hell what were we doing? Like huge chunky monitors that took all of your strength to lug up these stairs, and a mouse and stuff like that, a keyboard that you had to, as in like a typing keyboard that you had to plug in, because otherwise you couldn't log on to the Windows software.
Isn't that what like Chemical Brothers and people did in their early days?
That was more like kind of outboard gear, so they'd have like the drum machines and the synth and massive great big desks where they'd kind of like mix between them. Whereas, although I dare say they maybe had some like kind of PC related stuff as well, but they'd have all the tech and all the stuff, and it'd look incredible, and we just kind of rocked up like looking all dishevelled, with like big hair and these stupid things like lugging it around, and like
That sounds quite cool to me.
Now it'd be great. It would be a great little gimmick
like
if you turned up in a live thing.
Yeah.
You put all this stuff on stage. People think you're like totally cool and retro or something. But back then, playing with kind of rock bands or indie bands, they were just like, "The hell is this?
Yeah,
like,
sure,
what on earth are you doing?"
So did you manage to? Were you playing in sort of traditional, rock venues?
Yeah, I guess because the early Satan stuff especially is a lot. Well, I mean, it's always had like a kind of thread of post rock stuff, so it's always had that kind of that kind of atmospherics and a lot of guitar kind of melody and stuff like that in it. And so we basically kind of took the electronic element as just like another like little thing to sandwich in with it. So like, whereas all our friends were kind of in bands playing maybe like kind of more rocky stuff or math or stuff like that, we were just the initial idea was it's okay, it's post rock, it's that kind of thing still, but just with a computer, like doing certain elements. So like we kind of fell in with a lot of our like kind of older friends that were still in bands doing all that kind of thing. So we just thought, oh, we'll just gig with them because they're our mates. Yeah. So we just played the circuit of kind of around Leeds around that time, and it was always just all stuff like the Love Apple in Bradford. You play with say like this Etal or I Like Trains or Falconetti, people like that. Yeah. And they were like kind of traditional band setups, and we'd kind of get there with this stupid like electronic stuff and like try and tell people like, oh, don't worry, it's not gonna be like crazy Aphex stuff, and it's not gonna be like stupid, over the like cheesy Gabba stuff or anything. It's just it's kind of post rock but with this electronic stuff. Like it kind of fits but then doesn't really fit. So we never really felt kind of in with a scene. We kind of skirted a lot of them. So it was a little tough sometimes trying to get gigs or trying to get people to like not laugh at you when you turn up with all this stuff. But
it's funny how music does have this tendency to. It's almost like the continuation of people being outraged when Dylan went electric, isn't it? Really, it's like certain people have found any kind of synthesizers.
I mean, I wouldn't put us on the same pedestal as Dylan per se, but but like. Yeah, I mean, it was quite strange. Like, now it would be okay because you just turn up with, say, a laptop or maybe some controllers and some stuff. And it doesn't look that alien to be in a kind of band setup or especially like a post-rock setup with all that kind of stuff. Whereas back then, obviously the technology wasn't really there yet. And we were just students, so we couldn't really afford, like, the all singing, all dancing laptops. So we had to take these battered old PCs because they were cheap and... It was just what we knew, so we had to kind of do that, and it, obviously made us look a bit silly. But now, obviously, like anyone can just rock up and just open a laptop or an iPad, even or whatever, and that's great. That's I wish I would have had that back then, but it's
sure, I know what you mean.
Not the way it works, I suppose. But
you mentioned being at so it was music college you were at. Was that locally then? Or,
it was at it's called the Leeds Conservatoire now, but back then it was Leeds College of Music.
Yeah. Is that because there seems to be quite a heritage of people coming out of that and, making really
well,
good
to be
music?
fair, it was only because my brother went, and he went because he was doing some other stuff in and around kind of unis and colleges around like Newcastle and Manchester, and then he just heard about Leeds College of Music and did a small, I think it was just a 1 year or 2 year course there. And then he took me along once, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's got like studios and computers and like, you could make an album a day, had all these like stupid ideas and crazy ideas. So I just thought like, do you know what, I'm going to go for that because that sounds pretty cool. So I just did a couple of years there, and then kind of when I finished, they gave me the option and said like, oh, you can top up for another year and get a degree. And I was like, no way, man, I'm gonna get out there and get myself a music industry job. And then almost instantly regretted like doing that, and I was just like, "You idiot! What have you done?" So I ended up working in like a pub for a year, and then just went back to do the degree a couple of years later. But that was a cautionary tale for anybody trying to get into the music industry.
But it does have a great reputation of producing, people who are make great music.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's brilliant. Yourself. It was even then the standard of the stuff that they had there was absolutely superb, and now it's kind of. I spoke to someone there. I did like a kind of alumni thing a couple of years ago, and I felt like such an old man because these kids were like saying, oh yeah, we've got this now and that now, and we've got a whole venue and all this. And I was like, oh my God, when I was there, you had one room for computers, and that was it. But that was pretty crazy. But yeah, it's brilliant there.
Yeah. You're listening to BCB on 106.6 FM. I'm Simon Ashberry, and our guest today is Gavin from the band Worried About Satan. So we're going to listen to another track from his album Crystalline. In fact, it's the title track we're going to listen to. You were saying it's quite a sort of quite radio friendly for.
Yeah, it's weird for me. I don't know where this came from, but it actually sounds like quite upbeat and quite happy and quite like major key. I think it's like the only thing in my entire discography that is that. So.
Well, let's give it a spin. You're listening to BCB on 106.6 FM. That was a Crystalline title track of album by Worried About Satan, and we've got Gavin from the band in the studio with me. I mean, the name you've mentioned a couple. You've referred to yourself as Satan a couple of times. I mean, you have to tell us. Is there a story behind the name?
Yeah, like it's kind of a double-edged sword, the name, because like it's fairly memorable. I'd like to think so that you know, especially when googling it, it's quite good.
Yeah.
But like sitting down with kind of people and they say like, oh, well, you know, what's your band called? And you've got to look them dead in the eye and say Worried About Satan. You feel all right, idiot. It wasn't. I mean, because I never really envisioned much past just making some tunes.
Yeah.
It was only because like one of my favourite bands, there's a Belgian band called Deus, and they were quite like weird and rock. They're like a rock band, but they're really bizarre, like really avant-garde, and I really, really liked them. And back in the old days, before kind of social media and stuff, I was posting on their message board quite a bit because there was a little kind of community of fans that were waiting for them to put an album out because it had been quite a while. And so there was a lot of us all posting there every day, and there was a bit of a community. It was really nice, and like I still talk to people even now. And this was like 2004 or something, so it's almost 20 years or something like that. But anyway, like before I signed up to the mailing list, I thought I need a name on there. The message board, sorry, not the mailing list. I need a name that says like I know this band so well that I'm going to be like number one fan of this band. You're never going to outdo me for like niche references to this band. So I went just looking through all my old CDs. There's an EP they put out in about 2006 or something called Theme from Turnpike, and it's a really good song. It's off their second album, but they did loads of EPs, so I was like rifling through all of them. I was like, okay, Theme from Turnpike, that's a good one. So I looked at the back, and there was a couple of songs, and they were okay. And then there was one of the B-sides was called "Worried About Satan," and I thought that sounds weird enough that like it would look cool as well, like. And it sounds a bit weird, and it looks good. And then I thought, like, yeah, okay, I'll go for it. I'll just call myself Worried About Satan. It won't come back to bite me in the bum, 20 odd years later, will it? So, So I smushed all the words together to make it like one long thing, which was kind of like the post-rock kind of thing to do. It sounded like 65 Days of Static and stuff like that. And so I thought, that looks cool. Worried About Satan. I'll call myself that. So I signed up, and then everyone knew me on that message board as Worried About Satan. And then they were doing a cover CD, so everyone like contributed a cover of a Deus song to this this CD, and they'd put it out, or this download or whatever it was. So I just made a cover of one of their songs, which is on the very first kind of Satan EP, and submitted it. And then around the same time, the other band was kind of breaking up, so I had all these kind of demos and sketches and stuff. And I just thought, it'll just be easier if I just call it all Worried About Satan. So then I can. This one song is by Worried About Satan, and these other things are something else maybe. And I thought, like, nah, I just can't be bothered with that. I'm quite lazy as a person. I just thought, I'll call it all Worried About Satan, bundle it all together, and then bam, there you go, Worried About Satan. I can put something together, put like an EP, and there we go. And then it's just stuck ever since.
No, I think it makes sense. I think that there's a fine tradition of bands being named after songs by bands they like, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, like Radiohead and stuff like that. Yeah, it's sometimes it gets very strange. Like when you talk to just regular people, and you got to say
But it is weird about you were saying about it shows up well when you Google it, because that is something that you never would have dreamt of years ago.
Yeah,
but
sure. Yeah.
Actually, having a band that is easy to find, there are so many bands who you just can't. I can't think of one off the top of my head now. But there's loads of bands where if you just Google the name of the band, you get something completely different, not what you're wanting at all, and that's. Yeah, very weird. And there must be a lot of bands who regret their name, but they've gone too far. I always say Oasis. What a terrible name. What were they thinking of? Cointreau's Oasis.
I noticed as well, there's a lot of bands that kind of start as really art house projects with swear words in them, and they can't. Once they reach a certain level of kind of mainstream attention, they have to either bleep it or change it to something else. So it's a bit strange, and it's like, I know these guys.
Yeah,
exactly. Very odd, but
indeed.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh well, that's I think it's a good name, memorable name. And I mean, one of the reasons we've asked you to come on to the show, obviously, is that there's this gig coming up. It's actually off the top of my head, it's the July. Isn't it the first Saturday of July?
2nd of July.
2nd of July, yeah, Saturday night, and it's the second of these series of gigs that are going under the name The Endless Hum, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. So it's going to be me, a guy called Cole Comfort from Manchester. The headline is Adja from Nottingham, which is like...
I was going to say, I wasn't sure how that was...
Oh, yeah.
Adja,
stuff's like absolutely insane.
AJA,
I'm really looking forward to that, because I've heard it and I've seen her online, and it looks absolutely nuts. So that should be really, that should be really something quite special, I think. And a band called Objections from Leeds as well, that are kind of pieced together from various kind of Leeds bands.
And so it's Simon Glacken who's sort of the brains behind Endless Hum, really.
Yeah,
well, you obviously go back a long way with Simon.
I certainly do, yeah. Yeah, we used to be in a band because he used to live down the road from me, but like when we kind of growing up, we were kind of knocking about in some bands and stuff, and we used to just hang out and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of weird now that he's putting me on. It's come full circle, I suppose.
I mean, and as you say, I mean, you were on this show many years ago when you were in a band together.
Yeah,
I've dug out what you don't know, listeners. I've dug out the CD. And Gavin's strictly forbidden me from playing it. He says it's too embarrassing.
Oh my goodness!
Are we even allowed to mention the name of the band?
Oh, you can. Yeah, you can name that.
Johnny Poindexter.
Johnny Poindexter. Yeah, that was it.
It says johnnypoindexter.co.uk. So he had a website.
We did. We were quite forward thinking at the time. I think. Yeah, we.
Ways to clear a dance floor.
That was the one. Yeah. Oh my God! It's like. Well, a friend of mine got married actually. They used to play bass in Poindexter, and. The best men at the wedding dug out all the old Poindexter stuff to try and like embarrass him, but he didn't even see it. It just embarrassed me because they were passing around the CDs around all these tables with people kind of, or like my mates or kind of my age or people I kind of know but like not very close to, and they were just passing these CDs around like it was nothing. I was like, no, please don't. And I looked in all the liner notes, and they've all got these really cringy like kind of. I don't know, like these mottos and stuff that we came up with, and it was all like, oh my God, what on earth were we thinking? That's horrible. And I was like trying to snatch them off people, going like, no, stop it.
Well, this is your equivalent to the Quarrymen to the Beatles. It's all goes into the formative mix. I suppose,
I suppose so. Yeah.
So you're playing this gig, and it's in Shipley, isn't it? It's at
the Kirkgate Centre in Shipley, yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's great for Shipley to have these sort of high-profile gigs. I mean, as I was saying, it's a real shame that I'm going to miss this one because I'm away, and I missed the first one as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is great for Shipley to be getting these kind of
it's amazing,
these
like
gigs.
Because I mean, when we did Johnny Poindexter, there was absolutely nowhere to play outside of. I mean, our first gig was Leeds, in a really small kind of bar in Leeds, and like kind of the kind of, it wasn't together very long as a gigging kind of band that one, but it was mainly just kind of dives and Leeds and stuff. I think we played Bradford a few times, like the Love Apple and stuff like that, but certainly never like Solterra Shipley. No. I mean, growing up. I mean, we would have looked at you,
exactly,
giving you some funny looks if you'd have said like, "Oh yeah, Shipley's going to be kind of a hotbed of
no, exactly,
of like kind of live music and stuff." But it's amazing. It's really good, and the venue's great as well. Like they've obviously put a lot of effort in with the sound system and the and all that kind of the presentation of it is really cool. So
excellent.
it's amazing.
Should be really good. There's actually there is a gig happening. Well, I say gig. It's an event happening at Caroline Street Social Club.
Okay.
So that will be on the 17th of June, and that because there's a friend of mine who's at a comedy sketch group from Leeds who are putting on a show, but they've got a band on as well who I can't remember what they're called, which is bad of me. But so that's like a rock and comedy sort of night. So that's maybe things are growing.
Yeah, well, I mean, because especially in like Saltaire, there's quite a lot of places to play now. Exactly, I mean, I did a gig at the Triangle, like the little bottle shop. That was great. Yeah. Like you said, the Caroline Street, and there's the Kirkgate Centre. So it's strange that these kind of smaller venues just kind of pop up out of nowhere, and it's.
So live, what kind of what's your kind of setup live these days? Then what will people expect if they come to Endless Hum in a second?
Yeah, well, it's kind of it's fairly rudimentary. It's kind of I mean,
is it just you though, or
it's just me? Yeah. So like when it was a duo, when the band was two of us, it would be me kind of playing guitar, and then the other guy would mainly be doing like the kind of laptop stuff, so it was like the beats and the bass and kind of the synth or elements of the track and stuff, and we'd kind of meld them together and make it a little bit improvised, but kind of have a rough idea where it was going. Yeah. And then when he left, he basically took all of that with him, and all the laptops, all the gear, everything. So like I literally didn't have the stuff to replicate like the old live set. So I thought, okay, this is going to take some time, but I might have to just kind of go back to square one and just build it up from nothing again, and just see where it takes me. And for a while, I was kind of experimenting with iPads and stuff, or little bits of tech and stuff like that. And then for a little bit, it was just going to be solo guitar. And then I thought, no, that's going to be kind of boring. So then I just kind of pieced together like little bits of gear over time. So I kind of have like a loop station with the guitar, so I don't have to just keep playing the same stuff. I can like loop the guitar, put it down, and then move to something else. So I got like a little drum machine. I got like a little synth and a keyboard to kind of do the bass. So they kind of work independently of each other. So it's me having to basically just shuttle between all these different things, making sure the loops are kind of going up and down, and I can take stuff out and put stuff in, and mess around with stuff. And it's basically me just trying to control the madness before it just takes over and it all goes a bit nuts. But
but it sounds like quite a sort of quite a tight setup for you were mentioning like the place like the Triangle. That's you can play quite small places without
it's still quite a small it's like a kind of small setup. So it's basically just me sat down with some pedals in front of me, and then just a few boxes next to me, so I can kind of keep it quite small and stripped back, which is nice because it means you're not lumbering in all this stuff and all that kind of thing.
The most recent full band I've been in, we were like a 6-piece, and it was just it was bad enough trying to get everyone together to rehearse, but we occasionally played venues where we turned up and then realised that just the physical space.
I mean Johnny Poindexter used to be a 6-piece as well, so I know exactly what you mean. Like trying to. Being offered gigs at bars, and you're like, there's no way we can fit everyone else.
We played our first gig was at the Grove Inn in Holbeck in Leeds.
Oh, okay, right.
And I think we literally took up more than half the size of the actual room that the audience were.
We've done that before. It wasn't with Poindexter, but with Satan. We did a gig in Sowerby Bridge, or was it Hebden Bridge? No, Sowerby. I think the Puzzle Hall.
Oh, Puzzle Hall. Yeah,
that's Sowerby Bridge. I think. Is it?
I think so. Yeah,
it's one of the bridges. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's Sowerby Bridge. And we played with the band called Vessels, and they were I think they're a 6-piece as well, or especially then they were like 4 or 5, and they have so much gear. They were just like they turned up in this huge van, and it was just like they had to take stuff out, like plants, like plant pots and stuff, because it was getting in the way. So they had to bring in all these keyboards, drum machines, and amps and all this. It was like, oh my god,
it's slightly Spinal Tap, some of that.
Very
good. Yeah, excellent. Well, I mean, it does sound like that's really a gig not to be missed, and hopefully, obviously, Simon will be putting on more Endless Hums in the coming weeks. We're going to play another track from this time from an older album. This is from Arrivals, isn't it? So, is this the one I can't remember which one we're going to play. Is this the one we played last time?
Yeah, it's You're in My Thoughts.
You're in My Thoughts. Yeah.